It's never too late to start saving for your children and grandchildren. President of Star Financial Solutions, Esther Halt, joins us today to talk about the best practices. Nice to see you again, as always.
Good to be here again.
Thank you. Now, the best way to save for children, grandchildren, and what about if there's other children in your life that you want to save for? What can you do for them?
The two most popular ways are either UTMA or UGMA accounts or 529 plans for education.
Okay, what are those? What does that stand for?
The UTMA and UGMA accounts, or UTMA and UGMA, is Uniform Transfer to Minors or Uniform Gift to Minors. And that just depends on what state the child is living in. And then the 529 plan is specifically for saving for education.
Now, what if at some point the child doesn't go to college?
Well, that would be, the differences are the 529 plans are for college, and that money must be used for qualifying expenses, or up to $10,000 a year for primary and secondary school expenses as well, but it has to be qualified. They have to be going to a qualified school, and they have to be qualified expenses, which not everything is.
Okay.
The UTMA or UGMA accounts, those can be spent on anything for the benefit of the child. So that's a much larger net. If they don't go to college and they have a 529 plan, then those funds can be rolled to another child in that family, or it can be rolled to the owner of the account. It can be, so if you have one for your kid, it can roll back to you, and you can use it for qualifying education.
Okay. But it has to be used for education.
And qualifying expenses for education. So it's very specific.
Okay.
Also, there's no time limit. So let's say you had this for your son or daughter, and they don't go to college. So you can just keep it. It grows tax-free. And then they have kids, and their kids, so your grandkids can be named a beneficiary, and it can be used for them. Meanwhile, all this money has been growing tax-free.
Okay. All right. So so that's the differences. And again, because you don't know what's going to happen, which one of the other two would you suggest? Does that depend on the state?
It depends on the state. So some states have UTMAs and some states have UGMAs. The UGMA and UTMA accounts, depending on the state, what happens with that is it must be used for the benefit of the child. So if you don't use those funds, when the child turns either 21 or 18, or in some states like Florida, 25, then that money automatically becomes the property of the child. So a new account is made in their name, and it's theirs, and they can do whatever they want with it. Okay. So that's a big difference. The UGMA and UTMA accounts, they don't grow necessarily tax deferred, but it is taxed on the child's Social Security number. It's taxed to the child, and most children don't pay taxes. So for all intents and purposes, most of those accounts, there's no tax on it as it's growing either. Now, if that child is in a tax bracket, either the child or the parent will have to pay the tax on that, and you have to discuss that with your tax professional.
Okay. Now, is there any specific amount that you have to open it with or continue with as the time goes by?
Both of these types of accounts are subject to the gift tax rules, and so right now that's at $15,000 a year. That changes a lot. It's changed in the last few years. Okay. So you need to be aware of what that is. And then there's a higher amount if you want to do over a 5-year period, or a lifetime amount is, quite a bit. So that you need to check with your professional. But both of them, you can put as much in as the gift tax laws provide. Okay.
So any other differences that somebody should be aware of that stand out to you?
Yeah, so the taxation on the UTMAs, the money goes in after tax. On the 529 plans, certain states, you can get a deduction for state taxes, not Florida, and not all states. Okay. And pretty much if it's an UGMA or an UTMA account, that can, if the child doesn't want to go to college, you can buy them their first guitar and they can be a rock star. You can use it for a vacation. You can buy them clothing. It's whatever is for the benefit of the child. So it's a lot bigger net than the 529.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add before we close today?
Yes.
All right.
Check with your tax professional before deciding which is best for you. All investing is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. Be sure to review any 529 plan offered by your home state or the child's home state first.
Awesome. Great. Thank you again for all of these insightful tips.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us on Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. To find more tips from local experts, you can view previous episodes and complete seasons at snntv.com under Programming. We'll be back next Saturday and Sunday at 7 p.m. with more tips on how you can live a happier and healthy life. Until then, have a wonderful week.